All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to this long weekend mini Zoom class. It's hard to believe that we are here at the end of May. Crazy how fast time is going, and Father's Day is around the corner. So I'm going to be using a bit of a more masculine paper today with our Let's Go Anywhere line, because I do think this would make a really cool Father's Day card, but by all means, use whatever paper you have handy. We do need a couple of 6x6 squares that we're going to shape and fold and do some fun stuff. So this is going to be a tiny card, and this is part of our Think Small series. If you caught my coffee breaks at all this week, we were focusing on 3x3 cards and tags and inchies and all kinds of little things. So this is kind of right in that theme, that it's going to be a tiny card, but when you open it up, it's going to explode into something much bigger. So if you are watching live, please mute your microphone, but as always, feel free to unmute and ask questions, or if I'm going too quickly, just let me know. You can also pop something in the chat. If you're watching on replay, thank you for joining us, and always feel free to pause and rewind as you need. So today, like I said, we're making a tiny explosion card. I've got 2 pieces of 6x6 cardstock that we are going to score and fold. I've got some pattern paper that we're going to use to decorate. And the most important tool we're going to use is the scoreboard, just to get some of our lines down. We also need some either computer paper, or I've used a Post-it note, because we're going to do some tracing and cutting of some of our pieces. And the Post-it note is nice because it's got that little sticky bit that will help it to stay in place while we're tracing. But if you have just regular computer paper, you can use some washi tape or some purple tape to stick it down, or if you're pretty comfortable, just hold it in place. To get started, we're just going to take one of our 6x6 squares, and we are simply going to score it in half in both directions, just to give us 4 quadrants on our piece. So we're going to score it 3 inches. And as always, I will remind you not to press too hard, because you could punch through the paper, but just go over it a couple of times so that you've got a nice crease there. We're then going to rotate it 90 degrees, and we're going to score it 3 inches again. Easy peasy. We're just going right in half on both of those dimensions to create that 4 quadrant idea. And if you want, you can go ahead and fold on those just so that you can see them a little bit more easily. While we have our scoreboard handy, we're going to do the exact same thing to our second square. So we're going to score it 3 inches all the way down, turn it one turn, so 90 degrees, and score it 3 again. And fold along those lines. Now we do have one more score line to do on this piece, and we're only going to do it in one direction, not both. But what we want is we want a nice score line from one corner down to the opposite corner on that diagonal. It does not matter which one you do, just make sure you get it straight. I'm just going to grab, I've got just a piece of 12x12 here just to help me find my line, or maybe my scoreboard actually has markings here. You just want to make sure you're getting in that straight line. So if you don't have markings like I do on my scoreboard, I usually just use a piece of paper to make sure that my corners are lined up on that same track for your scoreboard, just to double check. Okay, so all the way down from corner to corner. If you're good at freehanding and you wanted to just fold that in half as well, you're more than welcome to. I just like having that extra little bit of confidence with the scoreboard that it's going to be nice and straight. So on your piece, you can fold it this way, you can fold it this way, and you can fold it on one diagonal. Go back to that first piece and do that diagonal score line again. Yep, are good. Okay, once you have those two pieces scored in those 3 lines, and because we want some good movement, you want to make, you can go ahead and fold in both directions. This one, we want nice, good, easy flowing folds. So once you've got that done, you can put your scoreboard away. We don't need it anymore. Okay, put my little scrappy piece away. Okay, here is where our Post-it note or computer paper comes into play. I'm going to take my cardstock. My cardstock has a texture on one side and it's a little bit smoother on the other side. So I'm going to put the smooth side up just like so. And I've taken a Post-it note and basically drawn a heart. So how I did that was I took my Post-it note. I want the sticky piece at the bottom eventually, but again, I just folded on both of those diagonals. If you're just using a 3x3 square of computer paper, the same thing will go. You're going to fold it carefully on the diagonal. With the sticky piece at the bottom, actually, let's turn it so that the points are up and down. I'm just going to lightly trace a heart shape, and I do want to come out pretty far, but I'm not going all the way down. Let me go a little bit darker so that you can see it. Like so, and then the same thing on this side. And now I'm going to cut that out, and maybe what I'll do to make sure it's even, feel like I'm back doing Valentine's Day crafts as a kid, where you learn how to cut a heart by folding it in half so it's even on both sides. All right. Open this up again. Just so I don't confuse myself, I'm going to erase that extra bit. So now my heart is going to line up here on my square. And that center fold is lining up with that diagonal fold on my card. So I'm just going to trace again. Like so, and take it away. So now my heart, oh, it's not showing up very well. Let me. Can you see that better? There we go. So my heart goes out to the edges, but it doesn't come all the way down to the point. We still want it to be attached to the card a little bit. And now I'm going to cut using my scissors just along this fold till I get to my first line. And then I'm going to cut out my heart shape. Like so. You can get rid of your little scraps. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to trace this same heart over here onto this square, which is the solid square. There is no diagonal line. And there's two ways you can do it. You can either put your Post-it note back in place, trace it and cut it out, or you can cheat and you can just go like this.
I like that one. That's a better choice.
Oh, I'm glad you like that. So there we go. We can just trace. And I'm using a pen just so you guys can see it. I would not recommend necessarily using a pen in your finished work, but there we go. So this red paper is really dark. I'm sorry, it's difficult to see, but now I'm just going to cut out my heart again. And around we go. So there's heart number 2. And now we need to do the same thing here. So we can either go this way or, no, we can't go that way. So yeah, we'll go this way. We'll trace again. Or if you're really good, you could just cut around it. I prefer having a line to follow. And
is the third one on the plain or the folded?
It's on the folded one.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Sorry, I wasn't clear about that. So in the end, you will have 3 hearts and 1 full solid square with no fold lines when you're done. And you'll see why when we do the same thing to the second piece. Okay, so now we have one. It looks kind of like a funky 3-leaf clover. This one is solid. These 2 have those diagonal lines because this is going to fold in like so. And then you've got your solid square at the bottom. Now what we have to do is repeat it for our second piece. So once again, you're welcome to do it. I'm going to say petal by petal or heart by heart, or you can simply, and again, I'm going to flip it over to the smooth side. So this way I can just trace and cut all at once. The second one's always a little bit easier. Except when your pen stops working. And just make sure all your folds are lining up. Like so. Okay. Now I'm just going to trim along all those shapes. Now, we've used a heart today. There is no reason why you couldn't do a circle or some other shape if you were feeling adventurous. The key is, and I'll show you when I finish trimming here, the key is you don't want to come in too close to the center because then your pieces are going to be a little bit wobbly. You do still want at least a good, I would say, 1 to 1.5 inches. We're about halfway here, so that's 1.5 inches, just to make sure that all of those petals still stay attached and open up nicely when we get to that stage. And wow, I'm finding my hearts are a little bit wonky, but that's where we can now manipulate and fix those up. All right, we're just finishing up this third petal. I would also say if you have 3-inch dies, like circles or like the hearts, you could always die cut your paper as well, or die cut a shape to trace instead of freehanding if you are really particular and want it to be all perfectly even. I did not have a heart big enough that I could find, but you know what, I'm okay with this. So you want to make sure both of your pieces, this horizontal line, which was originally our diagonal line, you want to push up on it and bring your petals in like so. So those two side hearts, you're going to push in on that. You're going to bend it down. You're going to fold this down and then crease it. And wow, you can really see how uneven my hearts are. But this is where you could go in and just trim, or maybe we will use our pattern paper to kind of hide and camouflage that. We're going to do that with our first panel as well as with our second panel. That one turned out a lot better, so that one I'll probably put on the top. And then we're going to take our two squares, and essentially, if we lay them open, we're going to overlap them. And so this will then fold in like this. This will fold in like this, and we've got that big exploding card ready to come together. So because if we think that there's going to be a lot of playing with it and making it close and open and close and open, I'm going to use some score tape just to attach my squares together. I want to make sure they stay glued and attached. I'm just taking some score tape, giving it a good coverage here. With score tape, it's always good to give it a little bit of a rub before you start trying to get the backings up. There we go. And now I'm just going to take this second piece and gently try to line up in the corner first. Maybe I'm going to fold it down. Line up in that corner first, get that score line even, and then stick it down. So now you kind of have two 3-leaf clovers that are overlapping and hugging in the middle. One panel goes down, the other panel goes down. And whichever direction you want that heart to go into, we are basically done our mechanism. So it's going to pop, and that tiny little 3x3 card now explodes with all kinds of goodness. And you could put photos in here. You could just decorate it as a card. If you are a scrapbooker, you could do a fun little element like this and tuck it in a pocket that maybe explodes to reveal some hidden journaling, or again, some additional photos. So let's decorate. I'm just going to grab my paper trimmer, and I've got my paper pad here. Try not to drop everything over there on my shelf. So all of these panels are 3x3. So you can take scraps, or you could take a 6x6 pad, or you could even take a full 12x12 piece of paper and cut it down into little 3x3 squares. I'm going to start with the middle one, because if you noticed when this was all folded up, you do see some of the corners. So I want to make sure that I pick something really impactful, that I can cover that area up. I am going to choose, you know what? I think I'm going to choose, oh, that one's nice too, though. Excuse me. That plaid is cool. Oh, and I love that. Okay, it popped out, so that must be the one. So I'm going to take this plaid piece and cut it into 4 3x3 squares, because I might as well have them cut and ready to go to use on other pieces. I like to keep the little extra strip as well, just in case we want some accents. So I'm going to start by just putting this plaid piece right here in the center. If you like that idea of it having a little matte border, you could always cut this square a little bit smaller, but I want good coverage today, so I'm going to cover it edge to edge. For decorating purposes, your regular tape runner or liquid glue will work. You don't need anything special for this. Get everything lined up, and there is our beautiful corner with those little edges peeking out. And then I can take my remaining squares and trace them so that they fit my hearts. So maybe this guy's going to go up here. Trying to find the easiest way to trace this. There we go. And so on and so forth. And we're going to do this for all of these petals. I'm okay with my little love bugs up here being on a little bit of an angle. If you wanted them to be a little bit more straight on, you could move that over. I think because we're going off the corner, everything's going to be on a little bit of an angle. So that just makes it interesting. And you don't necessarily have to cover all of the petals. I'm actually going to leave my 2 side ones just with the red cardstock, because that way then you can write messages. But I will want to do my front hearts as well. If you decided you wanted to decorate your side panels, just make sure you score that diagonal. And maybe I will decorate a couple of those side ones so I can show you how to score that. All right, going to do love bugs down here on the bottom one as well. Maybe I will purposely make it look like it's upside down. If you can still see some of the pencil lines after you are done tracing, you can just use a white eraser to gently erase them, or you could have always traced on the reverse side as well. Okay, so let's pick another paper to do these side hearts. What one am I going to use? Want something with a little bit of contrast. I could do the wood, or I actually like this black one here. Oh, and that's the reverse side of the wood, so even better. So I'm going to use this guy. Once again, I'm going to cut it into 4 3x3 squares. Save my little strip. And I know I said you didn't need your scoreboard anymore, so you could either just fold this on the diagonal like this, or you could get your scoreboard out and just do a quick little score from corner to corner. And I'm going to do that. Well, I'm going to do them one by one, just so I make sure I get my direction correct. So this piece here, I want to go here. So we'll just nest it. Oops. And the reason why I'm tracing each petal as opposed to using my Post-it note is because we will have imperfections from when we cut that paper. That way we make sure it's going to match as closely as possible. So with these ones that have the score lines, you do want to make sure you have some good coverage on your tape along those score lines so that they stay stuck. So I'm going to actually do that. And then go in that direction there. That's going to fit in. And then make sure that it keeps folding along those lines that we've already created. Okay, so this side here, because I wanted to go this way, I'm going to score that direction. And repeat. So all this is now is repeat, repeat, repeat. But it's going to be fun coming, or playing with all these different color combinations, especially depending what paper you chose or what occasion you're using this to celebrate. Follow the fold. So this is now folding nicely. Give it a little squish and a little burnish. And we can do the other ones. I'm going to do these wood side up this time. And now because my pattern is going to be hidden, I'm not too fussed about the direction. So I can do these both at the same time. There's 1 and 2. Here we go. Trace. And cut. goes. Trying to get things out of the way here. Tape along the fold. Tape along our heart. And one last one here on this side. And by all means, you could go in and you could ink your edges. You can, like I said, you could go a little bit smaller if you wanted to have that border. I find it easier just to trace. All right, last one on the inside. And now that's gonna fold in. That's gonna fold in. So in the interest of time, I'm gonna leave that one red. I'm gonna leave the back sides red. I just need one more for this front panel. Just to finish it off. And I kind of like this constellation, though is the red's not going to contrast that much. Is there another one? Well, maybe another plaid. Everything's popping out. No, you know what? I'm going to use the stripe because then I'm also going to use one of these sentiments as well. So I'm going to cut my 3x3 square from the top. I'm going to cut this little advertising strip off first. I'm just wondering if I could use the cut apart on the front, but I think I might cut off. I did this. I did that. Yeah, I feel like I'm cutting off too much of the words. So I'm just going to use the back side. This pad has 2 of each sheet. So I'm not too worried about using up the cut aparts. And let's cut these little guys apart and see what we end up with. So let's go places. And away we go. I think I'm going to use. All right, so let me just finish off this last heart here. I want it to go on that side, so. We'll just tuck it and trace it. Trim it and tape it. And no, all of those T's were not on purpose. But who doesn't love a little alliteration on a Saturday morning? All right, so that heart is ready. This one doesn't need a fold, so I'm not too worried about that. What side did I say that was going on? That's this one right here, is it not? Yeah. And there you go. Let's put our little sentiments on. So we'll tuck that one there. We'll tuck that one. Oh, I'm gonna have to trim this guy a little bit. This front one you could pop up with foam tape as well if you preferred something a little more dimensional. The inner pieces, I would not necessarily put foam pieces on because they might not fold nicely. And now we are done. How cute is that? And it's a great way. I mean, I used a 6x6 pad, so I've got lots of matching panels, but you could make a really cute patchwork kind of quilt look by using all kinds of different papers, using up your scraps. And then I would make a little 3x3 or maybe even 3¼ by 3¼ envelope with my envelope punch board to tuck this in and be able to give it as a nice gift or part of a gift. Like I said, you can decorate these up. You could put photos on them. You could put little messages on them. And it really has a big impact in that tiny little card. So thank you very much for joining me on this long weekend mini crop. This guy's not going to stay perfectly closed until I give him a really good push. So we'll just do that to hold him down. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a fantastic long weekend.